Good evening, I'm Daga McDowell.
And I'm Sean Duffy. Welcome to The Bottom Line.
22 years have passed since American troops first put boots on the ground as part of America's global war on terror. Since that time, up to 3 million Americans have answered the call to serve.
And tomorrow on Veterans Day, we honor those men and women and every veteran who's put their life on the line to make the world a safer place. But sadly, the weakness and ineptitude of Joe Biden has plunged the Middle East into chaos once again.
His disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan leading to the preventable deaths of 13 U.S. service members. Just one horrendous misstep in a series of foreign policy failures that have caused the region to descend back into violence and instability.
And in the absence of American leadership, the Iranian regime has stepped up to fill the vacuum left behind.
Biden's desperate sucking up to that regime, his refusal to enforce sanctions, has not only emboldened Tehran, but also lined their pockets with tens of billions of dollars. Money undoubtedly that contributed to Tehran's financing of terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah.
And now Biden's weakness has invited aggression. Again, our military. In the last 3.5 weeks, U.S. forces have been attacked at least 47 times in Iraq and in Syria.
Let's bring in former State Department spokesperson and Navy veteran Morgan Ortagus, along with Army veteran and Hudson Institute media fellow Jeremy Hunt. Great to see both of you, and thank you both for your service. Morgan, to you first. Who can forget that Biden, in his first weeks in office, removed the terror designation on the Houthi rebels, which just shot down our drone just a few days ago. And this is all part of the appeasement of Iran that really kind of unleashed this chaos and calamity in the Middle East.
Yeah, Dagan, I remember that quite well because we had worked on that designation of the Houthis, which are, of course, a terrorist group in Yemen. We had worked on that for over a year, and I came back from maternity leave. One of the final things that I did as State Department spokesperson was make sure that that terrorist designation went out under my name. Similarly, we declared the genocide in Xinjiang in the final days of the Trump administration as well, things that we had been working on for quite some time and we wanted to see come to fruition. And of course, in the very opening days of the Biden administration, as you mentioned, Blinken and his team removed that terror designation from the Houthis. Now, one might ask, what did they get for doing so? Did they have a negotiation? Did they get the Houthis to promise or concede that they would stop funding and stop their terrorist activities, that they would stop their malign activities in the region? Well, of course they didn't. The Biden administration, Tony Blinken and his team, they removed the designation without getting a single commitment from the Houthis that they would stop engaging in acts of terrorism. And now you're seeing what we see today, which they are a direct threat to U.S. forces in the region.
And Jeremy, with the U.S. forces being attacked 47 times, both in Iraq and in Syria, the U.S. is responding, but is the response enough? What is the appropriate pushback on Iran that is funding these third-party groups with the balance of trying not to get us into World War III?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, Biden's approach to Iran has been a disaster from the start. I mean, it started even with trying to revive the failed Iran nuclear deal. That was a disaster. And then you fast forward to releasing $6 billion to Iran just a couple months ago. And so it's always been a disaster. If you try to appease Iran, it only gets worse. So that's why we're seeing these attacks. And no, 47 attacks on U.S. soldiers, and all we have is an attack on an isolated ammo depot. I do not think that is going to deter Iran from continuing these types of attacks on American troops. Force is the language of this region. So you have to respond in force. And look, no one wants to get into World War III, right? But it does seem that the Biden administration has been tiptoeing with Iran so much out of fear of escalating tension in the region, instead of reminding Iran that we are the United States of America. It is Iran that should be afraid of escalation with us.
Morgan, Keith Kellogg, the general, told this story about working in the administration, and he calls it go super escalation. And it was after there were Iranian proxies in Erbil, Iraq, after an attack there. And then some days later, the American embassy was under attack in Iraq. We knew that he said that they started to burn documents. So we woke POTUS and the vice president up, and we said, it's Soleimani. And Trump said, get him. And we took out Soleimani 2 days later, 48 hours, and we told Iran, next, it's going to be the supreme leader. And that's what...
Yeah, so that... Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dagan, that story is accurate. And in fact, you know, Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, he had been after the Iranian regime and after Soleimani for quite some time. He actually opened up, he talks about in this book, a new Iran threat cell at the CIA in order to start taking them on aggressively, because he knew that the Obama administration policy of appeasing Iran, of giving them billions of dollars in sanctions relief, did not work and would not work. We were very clear. These attacks that you're talking about that happened in the late days of December 19 into January 2020, those were tough days for those of us working in the administration, because we had to set very clear lines for the Iranian regime, and we made it very clear to them. We didn't care if the attack came from a proxy, came from Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, or another Shia militia or terrorist group that they were supporting, or if it came directly from the Quds Force themselves. We made it very clear to them that if they killed any Americans, that Iran would pay personally for those attacks. And then, of course, I remember it was about 3 a.m., getting close. I think it was December 31st that I got a call. I was in Los Angeles. Robert O'Brien, the National Security Advisor, and I were both there. We got called back because we knew, number one, we had to take care of the attacks against the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And we also knew, of course, like you said, that Soleimani hit would come. Remember, by the way, this was one of the world's largest terrorists. This is someone who was responsible for killing hundreds of American lives and putting American troops at risk. But we took bold and decisive action. That reshaped the Middle East, the power balance in the Middle East, Dagan, and is what ultimately was one of the many factors that led up into the success of the Abraham Accords, peace in the region, which we handed to the Biden administration.
And they squandered it. But okay, let's look ahead. President Biden is expected to meet with China's Xi Jinping in San Francisco on Wednesday. And believe it or not, Biden might actually have some leverage here. China's economy is slow to its lowest level in several decades. But as Barack Obama once famously said, don't underestimate Joe's ability to F things up. So let's look to this meeting next week. Jeremy, do you think we're going to get any kind of results from the meeting, or is this just about politics? Joe Biden is up for election in 1 year from now. Is this about a meeting with Xi and looking strong but not getting a result?
Well, that's right. I mean, look, Joe Biden has been obsessed with having a meeting with China, with CCP, for quite some time now. And it seems that we are more interested in having a meeting with them than the CCP is interested in having a meeting with us. I mean, you've seen this kind of escalating parade of senior administration officials who have been going over to China. We saw Secretary Blinken over there, Janet Yellen taking a trip to China to meet with Xi Jinping. And now he's coming here to the United States. And I hope that when President Biden gets in that room, that he doesn't come in, nicely asking, requesting for things. The number one things he needs to talk about is the demand that China stop sending those precursor chemicals that make the fentanyl that's manufactured in Mexico and come across our open border, killing our nation's young people. I mean, that's got to be the number one topic of conversation, because China has blood on their hands from people from people in our nation. So I think that's got to be number one. But we have to project strength. Okay, the idea that we're just so, we're obsessed with having this conversation with the CCP. I mean, we're coming off more like an annoying ex-girlfriend than we are like the actual leader of the free world. So I hope that President Biden projects strength and comes and attacks it from the place that we know we are. We are the leader of the free world. There's no reason that we should be kind of bashful or nervous going into a conversation with the CCP.
Morgan, real quick before there's one more topic we want to get to, but real quick on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think talking two leaders of the world's two most powerful economies and powerful militaries talking to each other is fine. I mean, that's what diplomacy is all about. But unfortunately, it comes on the heels of, since June of this year, President Biden has sent a cabinet official and senior leader, one after the other. They have went begging and pleading, uninvited, I might add, to China to kiss the ring of the emperor. And so we'll see. I wouldn't expect that we'll get a lot accomplished out of these Chinese to, but the last time Blinken went, he got the Chinese to agree to a working group on fentanyl. And as Jeremy just pointed out, it's the #1 killer of young people in this country. Agreeing to a working group on fentanyl is not enough. It's killing our young people, the #1 killer, and it has to be stopped.
Desperation is the world's worst cologne, and that's what Joe Biden will be wearing.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, you hit this.
right.
All right. Before we go, we got to check this out, you guys. We wanted to get your take on this. Jason Rance, who's going to be joining us a little bit later this hour, uncovered this story. An elementary school in Redmond, Washington, has canceled its annual Veterans Day assembly and is replacing it with a peace assembly. So instead of singing patriotic songs like "It's a Grand Old Flag" and "This Land is Your Land," it's instead going to highlight songs to match the theme of tolerance, acceptance, and kindness, like "Live in Peace" and
Namaste.
Namaste. I can't say it or sing it, you guys.
Namaste. Kumbaya.
Okay.
Morgan.
Everybody has a right to do this in America. I would say this is why people need to stand up, why you can't let the crazies take over. So the veterans in Washington State should come out and sing "God Bless America" and really trigger them by saying "God and America" in the same sentence. And we should honor our veterans. So even if this school refuses to, I think the parents should get together, find a way to honor veterans. And listen, we have to stand up to this craziness. If there's anything we've learned in this country, if you just ignore it and let the crazies protest, then you will have woke infiltrations of our universities, of our military, and of every facet of American life. And it starts in elementary school. So those parents should stand up and say, "Not on my watch."
And just imagine the irony that you're going to replace Veterans Day with this kind of peace assembly. Well, guess what? There would be no peace if there weren't veterans who sacrificed their lives for this nation. And so it's absolutely absurd. I mean, when I was in high school, I was in JROTC, and we actually planned and executed the Veterans Day program at our school. And that was huge for me. I mean, participating in that assembly was a big part that made me want to serve and want to go to West Point and serve my country. And so you're robbing the next generation of that kind of moment to be inspired to serve and that importance of patriotism. That's what we should be talking about on Veterans Day. And I do want to say thank you to all the veterans out there who have served, who have made a difference. Your sacrifice, it does not go unnoticed. Those of us here, especially at our organization, Vets on Duty, we want to thank you for all that you've done.
No peace, no freedom without vets. Jeremy, thank you. Morgan, thank you as well. We appreciate you guys joining us on The Bottom Line.